Hi again, folks. In this video, who are the 5 franchises I respect the most in the NHL? Coming up. All right, 5 franchises that I respect. Doesn't mean I have to like them, but that I do respect. Whether it be a team that's had an identity forever, success, what have you. Who the franchises I've learned to respect as the years unfolded in my life. All right, so I'm going to go from number 5 and work my way up. I'm going to start off number 5 with Tampa Bay. I've seen Tampa Bay now win 3 Stanley Cups, and I remember when they were just a young franchise coming in the NHL and all that, but they've won a Stanley Cup before these last 2 cups in a different era with different players. That takes a good franchise to do something like that. And Tampa Bay, we've seen just as recently of that loss to the Blue Jackets, 4 straight in the first round. And I was convinced that day, when they lost 4 straight, I was convinced they were winning the cup the next year, or that was it. It was one or the other, and they won the cup. It was one or the other, because if they didn't win the cup the next year, they're done. They're finished. That's it, because there's no more margin for error. You've basically had the best year in your history and got humiliated in the first round. There was something drastically wrong in that dressing room that loss cured, you know? Nothing cures playoff losing like losing too much, because then eventually a team can't take it anymore and they either break out or they nosedive. So Tampa Bay's got to be my top 5 that I have to put them. 3 Stanley Cups. Number 4, Detroit. Detroit, I watched them go from chokers to champions. You remember in '96 when they choked up in the playoffs to Colorado after Lemieux basically tried to behead Draper on the boards. And they still lost that series somehow. I tell you, man, they were interviewing Yzerman after that game, after they lost. And I was cursing Yzerman. I was cursing him that he's a lousy leader, all of it. I was saying, my God, how could you actually show your face on a camera when you guys let that happen? But it did wake the team up. It took that moment, I believe, to turn Detroit into champions the next year. And I'll never forget the interview Bowman about that, about what he thought going into that playoff, okay, in their first Stanley Cup. And he said, he had clearly said that the team is very calm. I never forgot Bowman said that. He said they're very calm. There's a calm about them that he's never seen before. And that was it. That was it for them to turn the corner into champions. And the longevity that we've seen with Detroit's championships, how they kept it going to, you know, like we had different captains. And that Detroit team was really a first-class organization for a long time. And I remember Detroit in the 70s, folks, when they were the Pits. If you would have told me in the 70s, I would see them win all those cups before Buffalo got their first one, I would have laughed at you. I would say it's impossible. Because Detroit back in the 70s, they had Reed Larson. That was about it. If that was, yeah, like that was about it. They really had nothing. Grant, Danny Grant. I mean, there was a few names I can remember, but there was nothing. It was a joke organization that got back on track. And once they got back on track, and once they drafted Steve Yzerman, things did change. I got to say that. And Yzerman really became the forefront of a leader once they started winning those cups. So, yeah, Detroit, a lot of respect to them, and all the tragedy they went through with the car crash and everything, you know. Anyway, there's some nice stories to Detroit. So Detroit comes in at number 4. Number 3, I got Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh because I watched them as a kid, really before Lemieux, and really this team never even made it to the Final Four once. And then all of a sudden they broke through in '91. They really just all of a sudden broke through. It really wasn't, nobody really seen that coming, really, not really. But they did, if I recall right, they did push, who was it, to Game 7? I believe it was Boston in '90, right? I'd have to look back at the record books. But the Penguins team, when they broke through and won their first cup, then repeated as champions, after the death of the coach, of course, of Bob Johnson, they repeated. Scotty went behind the bench and took over, and they got over that. They used it as a motivation to win another title. And I didn't think Pittsburgh were going to win the cup back-to-back. I remember when they went into their second cup with Lemieux and Stevens and all these guys, when they went into that cup, I remember noticing in the playoffs, oh my God, they're going to repeat. There was a game I was watching one night, and I just knew they're going to repeat. You could just see it in their game. They were playing some really good hockey. And then they went down to the pits again and rose again from the ashes to champions once again in the Crosby era and Malkin era. And Letang era. You can throw Letang in there too. So you know what I mean? That says a lot about that franchise. So that franchise now has won 5 Stanley Cups, and the Sabres have won 0. If you would have told me in the 70s this team would win a cup before Buffalo, I would have said you're nuts. They've won 5. There was a time, folks, where the Pittsburgh Penguins weren't thought of as much except a filler team in the NHL. They weren't good for like 20 years, really. If you look at their history, they really weren't. They had the 75 run where they blew a 3-0 lead, or 75. They were up 3-0 on the Islanders. The Islanders stormed back on them and took it. And that was the year I was cheering them on too, to do something in the playoffs. They were like my second team at the time, just because I like their logo, believe it or not. Number 2, the Boston Bruins. As much as you guys hate hearing that, the Boston Bruins, I got to respect, because this team has had an identity as a real team everybody hates, and they're hard to play against every single time you run into them. I guarantee you that they have led the league in hitting since the 1970s till now. I guarantee it. There's no doubt in my mind that statistic. As much as Montreal's been a physical team as well, I am willing to bet anything Boston. I might do a video on that, dig it up one day, see if there's a way where it's not taking me hours. But the Bruins have always been a hard-nosed hockey team with a lot of pride. That you could tell that all the players that always play there are always proud to play for that team and always give 100%. And no, they haven't won many cups. I've only seen them win 2 cups in my lifetime, really. So, I mean 3. I was very, very young when they won, when the Bobby Orr in St. Louis. I was very young when that happened. So, really, I've seen 3. When they beat the Rangers in 6, and then when they beat the Canucks in 7 in 2011. So the Boston Bruins have to be mentioned, or else I'm being a hypocrite. I'm just being a hater. And I can't stand the Bruins, but I have to respect the franchise. I do. And number 1, my favorite team, the Montreal Canadiens. If I don't say the Habs, when I seen the greatest dynasty of all time in the 70s, was ridiculous. Just that alone is enough for a lifetime for me. I mean, this was a team with the best power play, best penalty killing, best coach, best GM, best road record, best home record. I can go on and on and on. It was ridiculous. That team, especially when they hit their pinnacle in the 76-77 season, and for you folks for you younger folks that haven't, go in the history, go check NHL.com and go to 76-77. Go check the Habs record that year. And go check their goals for and against. You want to have a good laugh. My God, it was a painful, brutal season for me to sit through. It scarred me for life, it did. But how can I not respect a franchise that deep in tradition? Like, how can I not? And just pretend that my dislike for them is more bigger than their tradition. It's insane, It's just insane to even think that. So, yes, as much as I dislike these teams, most of them, I respect them too. I have no dislike for Tampa or Detroit or Pittsburgh. Really, Boston and Montreal are the 2 teams on that list I just don't like. But that's why they're number 1 and 2 on my list, because they should be, really. I mean, if there's anybody I left out, I can't think of it. I really can't. All right, folks, that's it. This guy needs a break. I'll see you in the next one.